Tiger fans, what a great time to be a part of Jackson State Athletics. TC Taylor, on his second year, we're very excited about Coach Taylor. 10,000 season ticket holders. That's our goal for the year. With 10,000 season ticket holders, we will have more support for our student athletes, for our coaches, and also we can support our university when it comes to Jackson State University athletics. Go to jsutigers.com. 10,000 season ticket holders is our goal. Support Jackson State University. Go Tigers.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BLEAV for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here.
Tiger fans, welcome to another episode of Tiger Talk TV. I am the Corey C. Make sure you subscribe to the new channel. Tiger Talk TV. Imagine if you weren't subscribed, you'd be missing this treat today. We have a special guest. All right, you can find us everywhere. Of course, we're on YouTube, the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. So be sure to follow the show and tell every Tiger that you know. And remember, when you support Tiger Talk TV, it all helps the cause, which is I love Jackson State University. And I'm joined today by the Cornerbacks coach, none other than Coach Mario Magana. Welcome to Tiger Talk TV.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure. We've been waiting to get you on. Want to hear from you. A lot of fans want to get to know you. They want to meet you. They don't get to hear from you a lot. They know the face, but they want to dive into that background and kind of see what you're all about and hear your voice as well. So definitely excited to have you. So start out, Coach, by giving us a fun fact. Let's get away from football for a bit and give us something interesting, funny. I like to say even embarrassing if you want to go there.
That's a great first question. I can sing. I know how to sing. Before football, that was really a lot of what I did growing up. I tried out for the X Factor when I was younger.
Really?
I did some performances around in El Salvador. I was big with the talent shows when I was a kid. So, yeah, I was a musical guy growing up.
Is there any YouTube footage out there?
There is.
Uh-oh.
There is.
All right, I'm on it.
My parents' archives.
I'm on it. We're Tiger fans. We're on it. And post it on social media and tag them in it. Tiger fans, will you find it?
Absolutely.
No, good stuff. No, we appreciate that. All right. So California guy, let's talk about it. West Coast. Let's hear about it. Where exactly are you from out there? What high school? Talk about growing up on the West Coast. And is the West Coast really the best coast?
Okay, first I'm going to start off. Yes, West Coast is the best coast. But I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. So that's just 20 minutes north of Los Angeles. I went to Cleveland High School out in Reseda, California, public school. And really, man, growing up out in California, I think shaped me in a lot of different ways. I mean, first of all, you get to be exposed to a whole bunch of different people from all different walks of life, different parts of the country. Because you just see, like even growing up, I saw a lot of people from the South that moved to California, people from the Midwest that moved to California. So you get to see a little bit of everything. And then on top of that, just getting to see such a dense population and having so much around you. I think you tend to take some things for granted living out that way. And it's a different lifestyle. It's a different sense of community. And I just learned to appreciate it more as I came out this way, away from the West Coast, moving west to the Midwest and eventually here to South.
And then talk about playing football, growing up, getting into sports and how that shaped you and possibly kept you out of trouble and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely kept me out of trouble. But more than anything, man, football and sports really were just a big prove it catalyst for me. So when I was younger, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. So for the viewers that don't know, it's bleeding of the colon. So I was diagnosed when I was 10, and the cases like that at the time could become really severe. So I became severely anemic within a year. I eventually had my colon removed by the time I was 11. I was living with an ostomy bag for about 6 months and eventually opted for reconnective surgery. So all that influenced my desire to get into football. So this was all middle school years. And then once I reached high school, and I remember telling my parents this, it was, guys, I want to play the most physical sport I could play. And I was, growing up as a sickly kid, like for me, it was just, I want to shift this image of myself and be an athlete, not just be a kid that was bedridden in the hospital for 2 years. So I took that route, and man, football became just, it allowed me to showcase who I really was. And it helped me to kind of build my brand as a person. And it was just hard work and grit. No matter what was in front of me, I was going to find a way to get it done, whether it was finding my way on the field, getting to college to play football, just finding a way to make life the way I wanted life to be for me.
Wow, what a story. What an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, that's awesome to turn that setback into something positive that really changed the direction and the trajectory of your life, if you look at it. You talked about how that afforded you the opportunity to go and play college football and things of that nature. So talk about that. Talk about your college playing days and transition into how you got into coaching after that as well.
Yeah. So after high school, I got an opportunity to play at William Jewell College. It's a small Division II school in Kansas City. I came in, and like everybody else, I came in and had big dreams of being a true freshman, playing in my first year, and I got it done. Kind of going back to the whole, I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna find a way. And so I still remember, and I'm gonna touch back on this once I reach the end of it. Okay. But I told myself I've got 4 years. I'm gonna come in, and Mario, you're gonna use up your eligibility as soon as you step on campus, because you're gonna play. You're going to wrap your 4 years up. And at the end of your 4 years, you're going to figure out what you want to do with your life. Either you're going to be a professional athlete and you're going to get it done that way, or you're going to use the different gifts God has given you to do something else with your life. So first year, played as a true freshman, earned a lot of respect as a player at the time, was one of 2 freshmen that got to travel that season. Okay. Next season, and I'm going to kind of rapid fire through it. Next season, I tore my ACL, blew my knee out. ACL, MCL, meniscus, almost a full unhappy triad. Did the whole year in rehab, getting right, trying to recover. COVID hits the following fall. So now there's no fall season. I have an extended period of time to rehab, and at this point, I'm in California. Now I'm working out at a gym back home, so I find my way to kind of get myself some rehab, continued rehab, and continue to develop the way I wanted to, away from campus and away from the school. My junior year, we finally get our spring season, became team captain, defensive player of the week during the short spring season, and earned comeback player of the year honors that season. Wrapped up my senior year, continued to lead the team in tackles, and shoot, after that, just was ready to call it a career. I gave the CFL route a shot. Okay. And I turned some heads while I was at tryouts and given that an opportunity. But like I said earlier, it was at that point I knew I needed to make a decision. And a lot of the heads I turned at the time would have kept me on the bubble for a longer period of time. And for me, it's like, no, Mario, it's time to look a different direction and do something with life that's beyond playing now. And that led me to coaching.
Yeah. That story, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to him about how he got into coaching, but Javancy Jones, similar story. He was kind of on that NFL bubble. We were really hoping that he got drafted. Name wasn't called, and we felt as though he could be in some camps and things like that. But the next thing we know, he went right. He went kind of transitioned into coaching, so he had to make that decision. And look at him now. Look at you two now, doing great things as coaches. You're gonna have bright futures ahead. So good stuff. So talk about the journey leading to Jackson State as a coach. What were some of those stops along the way? What do you remember most, and what did you learn?
Absolutely. So my career in coaching has been short. As soon as I graduated from William Jewell, I was presented with an opportunity to be a GA at Central Missouri. I was brought out there to coach alongside Josh Lamberson. He was just named D2 Coach of the Year this last year. Also, they were the semifinalists for the D2 National Championship. So ultra successful program, a lot of great folks on that coaching staff. And really, they helped give me a huge jump start as a GA. I had my room as a cornerbacks coach, and I was there. And I was given that responsibility really early. And again, a big thing for me after leaving college was, as a coach, I wanted to be able to apply the things I learned when I played and see that it works. Know more of that affirmation, like, okay, I came into coaching with a base of knowledge, a foundation of knowledge that would actually work. So I was given a room, a lot of young guys, a lot of guys looking for their first playing time, playing minutes. And it was a really good season for my room. I ended up with an honorable All-American cornerback, DeAndre Glover, and across from him, another superstar, Jordan Scruggs. Two great corners, and I loved coaching with them, loved seeing them develop. They actually are both now playing FCS football at different institutions.
Nice.
But that whole year was a big learning opportunity for me because a lot came in fast. That first semester was coaching, figuring out how to teach kids the right way and do it effectively. And then after that, we actually let go of our safeties coach at the end of that season. So I became the interim defensive backs coach, working through the recruiting seasons, helped fill the roster with new DBs. Specifically, I brought in about seven defensive backs by the mid-year. So as soon as that was wrapped up, transitioned into a spring, learned a new defense under another great defensive coordinator, Greg Jones, who was coming from Oregon. And man, I got the call from Jackson not too long after that. And it's all about relationships. Coach Robert Mitchell was on the staff with me at Central Missouri when he took the job here as an offensive analyst. He called me up about an open position, and the rest after that was, okay, let me get to the SIP. That's the next step.
Okay. Yeah. So I love hearing how the connection, because obviously I didn't see you at any previous stops with Coach TC Taylor. So I always wonder, like, how did he, find this person? So that's the connection. So talk about just when you got the call or through the interview process, what you can share first talking to Coach Taylor, Coach Quinn, and maybe Coach Bradley at the time, maybe just talk about that process.
Yeah. So the call came to me the first call was from Bobby. His name's Robert Mitchell on paper. We call him Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
He called me and just, kind of gave me the scoop. Hey, we have and at the time it was a defensive analyst position. So he tells me, hey, we have a defensive analyst spot open. We'd love for you to interview for it. Or I want to put your name in for it. I said, yeah, absolutely. And, as having recruited my full room at Central, in my mind, I'm like, okay, this would be a great next step in my career. But I'm already kind of wary because I'm excited about what I'm building at my last spot.
Exactly.
And I'm excited. I'm happy to be a coach, and I'm invested with where my feet are. That's just the type of person I am. And so once I got through that call with Bobby, I got the call from Coach Bradley. Phone interview, really brief, just kind of asking me why I want to make the move, what encourages me to want to come to Jackson, what I want to become as a football coach, and then a quick dip into technique. Asking me football questions. What do I know about the cornerback position, defensive back play? Just really starting to get the scoop about my football knowledge. I first get introduced to some of the defensive staff at the time. Coach Quinn hopped on the phone, asked me more questions about technique, and also Coach Hammock, our linebackers coach at the time. Yep. So it was a brief call. After that, we scheduled a video chat, and I still remember the process. Oh man, this whole period of time was just great. It was like a movie to me. I had a girlfriend at the time I had taken out to get breakfast. We had kind of been spotty with setting up the appointment time for the video chat. Mm-hmm. And this morning I happened to take my girlfriend out to a breakfast spot around the block from where I was staying. And I get the text from Coach Bradley, hey, we're ready to get on the Zoom call. We're going to hop on in about 15 minutes. I'm sitting there. We had just ordered food. We were ready to eat. I look at her and I'm like, hey, we have to go. We get the food packed up, get the food paid for. I rush in, put on a polo, get on the video chat, talk to Coach Bradley, talk to Coach Quinn, and really a lot of the same stuff, except now Coach TC's on the call.
Okay.
Yeah, now he's excited to get a chance to speak with me, saying that Coach Quinn and Coach Bradley had a lot of great things to say from the previous call, and he asked me questions about if I'm ready for a transition to Mississippi.
Yeah.
He understands I'm a West Coast guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sees I've been in the Midwest, but it's not the South. So he asked me, he's like, is that a move I'm willing to make? Is it something I'm interested in? And if I can do it? I say, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that goes back to what I mentioned about living in the West Coast. You see all sorts of different people, all sorts of different walks of life. And I'm a guy that loves new experiences. So coming to Mississippi was
Culture shock.
yeah. Please come on. And that too. I mean, the food was much better than what I've been seeing in the Midwest.
Okay.
Great barbecue in the Midwest. So Kansas City, rock on. But Mississippi, something different. Actually had grits for the first time when I got here. No joke. No joke.
Did you put salt on it or sugar? That's like a big debate here.
I have put neither yet, but I'm encouraged to put sugar in it.
Okay.
A lot of the coaches tell me to put sugar, so that's going to be the next step for me.
That's a big time debate.
Oh yeah. But ultimately, I hopped off that call, and the next day, I get the call from Bradley, and this is really what changed the game for me.
Okay.
He calls me and he starts off the call like giving feedback about the interview and letting me know how it went, and then he goes and says, "Hey, you're not a defensive analyst," and so in my mind, split second, I'm thinking, "Oh, okay, so we're not going to go through with this. You're not a defensive analyst. We want to bring you on as our full-time assistant defensive backs coach."
Okay.
And Corey, I dropped to my knees when I got that information. I was just so happy to get the call, so happy to hear that. And at that point, it was a no-brainer. It was, all right, I need to call my head coach. I need to get some meetings set up at Central. I'm making a move, coming to Mississippi.
Wow. Amazing story. Well deserved. I mean, obviously you put in the work. You're on the fast track. It doesn't happen that quickly for coaches, but you put in the work. You showed your worth, and you impressed the people who you needed to impress, and the resume spoke for itself. Great call by our coaching staff to bring you on, and I'll get to some things that I want to kind of point out and talk about. I'm going to brag on you a little bit if you're not going to do it for yourself. Just some things that I'm seeing from you as a coach. But I want to go back to something that Coach TC talked about, the move to Mississippi. I was going to ask you about that. It's so interesting to hear that he would put that out there, because most people probably won't think about that or factor it in. You're probably so excited about a new job and being promoted and moving up. You're not really specifically thinking about the destination, but the move from a California to a Mississippi, granted you were in Missouri in between, but that's a huge transition. So for him to point that out and say, hey, let's consider this as well, I think that speaks volume of him. But more specifically, talk about just that transition and I say it's culture shock, but some of the differences and how you've been able to become acclimated. Are you acclimated yet? You may still be getting used to it.
I'm definitely acclimated. And I think the biggest, really, I owe it to the people around me, and I owe it to the Jackson community. I mean, I think my first week here, and it was an abrupt move. It was fast, and quite frankly, I hadn't figured out where I was going to stay yet. I just made the move out here, and Bobby kind of kept me on his couch, or actually offered me a guest room when I moved in with him for a little bit last summer. And during that transition, he kind of took me around Jackson. His dad was a pastor, so he kind of got me introduced to the community, got to meet a lot of people around Jackson. And it didn't take long. I felt real comfortable real fast. A lot of kind faces, a lot of kind people just welcoming me. And it made everything super smooth. The staff was super welcoming, super excited to have me on board. And it felt like the right spot the moment I stepped out here. It is different. It's not the West Coast. It's not the Midwest, but that's not at all a bad thing. It's a different environment, a different place to be with new experiences, new people. And I have loved every second of it. The people I've met, who I've come across, the relationships I've been able to build. Jackson's a special place, and I could not have imagined a better next step from where I was at.
Awesome. Great to hear that transition was pretty smooth, and obviously getting right into the football part. You step into a team and defensive backfield that was very talented last season, still is talented. We'll get to that, but last season led the FCS, led the country in interception. So just reflect back on that unit that you had last year.
Man, it's a special group of kids, special group. I mean, even looking at the guys that left, for example, Tim Stewart, Jalen Hughes, looking at Solomon Rogers, like that whole group back there was John Huggins. I mean, it was just a special group of guys. And something about it too, stepping into the room. I mean, Coach Quinn was the catalyst of it before I got there. And he had just developed such a great mentality in that room as far as discipline, doing what needs to be done when it's supposed to be done, and just the standard of no vertical footballs. So a lot of fundamental football and defensive back philosophy was already in that room. So coming in and being a part of it was just now, okay, how can I continue to elevate this room? And there's a lot of coachable young men that allowed that to be possible. And again, it goes back to the idea that everybody was super welcoming, and that included the players. I mean, the desire to win games and put it on the line and try to get the job done for a Jackson State fan base and community. I mean, everybody was pulling the rope the same direction. And that made it a great move, great environment to step into.
And then heading into year 2, cornerbacks coach. So congratulations on that role. Just talk about the differences in your role and what you're doing this season as opposed to last season.
So the truth be told, the role is about the same.
Okay.
The responsibility I had during the fall stayed the same going into this season. It's just now you have the formal title on it.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it really just the cornerback room for me was always a project from the jump. It was, all right, let me get the technique that I'm very comfortable teaching and trying to expand and trying to instill in the kids, and matching that to the defensive room and the scheme that we're trying to bring in. I think the only major difference now is Coach Quinn now as a defensive coordinator has a lot more on his plate. He has a lot more that he needs to look around and see. And again, just looking at the staff, I mean, he wants to have a piece of his hand in everything in terms of seeing that everything's being done correctly. And now that he's, in a leadership position for the defense. So now the role has transitioned more so into, okay, now I'm even helping with the safeties and helping with their technique as well. And continuing to try and gel that whole room together for him when he's focused on other things on the defensive backfield. And I think you may have heard it from him before, just he's got the scheme, I've got the technique, and together we're just going to find a way to make it mesh and gel and get the best out of both of each other.
Speak a little bit about that scheme and technique. Don't give it all away, obviously. We know the other schools are watching. They're trying to check in, so we don't want to give away anything. But just tell us what you can about just scheme, technique, what we can expect, or kind of your overall general football philosophy on that side.
Man, my philosophy is to be aggressive. I want DBs, and I want DBs that are not afraid to get down and dirty and gritty. I think a lot of what you see in football nowadays is the 7-on-7 mentality. Oh, I'm gonna be a cover guy. I'm gonna just stick on you like glue, and that's all there is to me as a defensive back. And to me, it's a lot more than that. It's you have to be willing to get hands-on. You got to be able to want to physically dominate the person in front of you, and that reflects in our technique. That reflects in our mentality, how we approach practice, Indy. It's all about hitting, block shedding, block destruction, all the fundamentals of football. And being a DB, if you're at this level, we're expecting you to be able to do it. We'll continue to sharpen those tools and coach you up the right way, but it's all a mentality. And that goes back to the defensive scheme too. Coach Quinn has an aggressive play calling mindset. And for us, I need to make sure the defensive backfield matches that, as well as the rest of the defensive unit.
Let's talk about a few guys specifically. Let's get into some names. This is Tiger Talk. This is where we talk about Tigers. So let's go down the line. A couple of your guys. I want to start with the veteran of the group. Still calling him K5. That's going to be hard to change it. When Coach, when Coach Quinn came on, he said 1K. I said, okay, I'm feeling that. So 1K. Keeper Wiggins, talk about him, his growth. Hopefully, he stepped into a leadership role at this point in his career. So just talk about what you're seeing in him, what you expect from him.
Kevrick 1K has been a really special player that I've been able to work with since coming to Jackson. He's such a mature young man. He's extremely coachable. He does everything the right way. he's the type of player that you get a chance to meet and talk to him, and it's just like you want to see him succeed and reach his fullest potential. And again, he does it all the right way. He's coming in and getting extra meeting time. He's working extra on the field. He's always one of those guys that you kind of just see after practice, just along the side doing some extra drill work. And it inspires the other guys around him to do the same. And that type of leadership is hard to find. And he just does such a great job. And last season, looking at what he was able to accomplish, and man, he was getting so hot at the end of it, just racking up more interceptions. He was starting to really pull away with that full-time starting position for the season. And it was a shame that he had gotten hurt. But he handled his rehab the right way. He's done all the right things to get back on the field and be a real-time competitor this next season. I think it's going to be a blowout year for 1K. I think he's going to come into ULM and the rest of the season and just really showcase, hey, I wasn't on that preseason SWAC list, but I damn sure should have been.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't make that. And going back to his old school, ULM, I know he's excited about that. Evan Henry on the other side, so I know he's looking to put on a great show in there, and I'll let that carry over into the rest of the season, no doubt. Another guy we're excited about, hearing a lot of great things about him. He's a newcomer. I love the size. I'm hearing about the speed as well. I'm talking about Micah Cherry. Is at that size, is he a corner first and foremost? And if so, what do you like about him?
Yeah, Cherry is a corner. And I mean, there's a lot to like about Cherry. Kind of just starting off with him as a person. I mean, he came in and just kind of similar to what we just talked about with 1K. Yeah. 1K. He's the same way. He asked a lot of questions. He came in and had a strong desire to learn the playbook off bat. He understood what the expectation is coming into Jackson State. And he wanted to make sure he was on the right foot as far as understanding what's going on, understanding what techniques I'm asking for, and tying it to the coverages effectively. But the speed is great. I mean, the 4.3 speed shows up on tape. He came in with a lot of different tools in his toolbox as far as technique. And really the journey for the summer has been, let's refine it and let's put it to practice with what we do here at Jackson. And just a special guy, same guy, and same mentality in terms of he wants to be a leader. And that's another thing that I love in the defensive back room, just the mentality of, hey, we can lead this team. We need to try to lead this team. And he came in with that. So he's a very exciting guy to see this season.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Day Bright, Portland State. I know he hasn't been here long, a month or so, but Coach Quinn came on the show after Bright had been on campus only about a week, and he was already impressed with his student mentality, his desire to learn and get ahead, and how proactive he is about learning. So what are you seeing in him?
I see a lot in Day, a lot. So he actually came from – so he's a West Coast guy. Okay. He grew up out really out where I grew up. So the crazy thing is he actually came from the same coaching tree that I came from in my playing days. And so he was highly recommended to me. Yeah, he's highly recommended to me by a lot of my folks out west, a lot of coaches. And the first thing I would always hear was, hey, he's going to be a really intelligent guy, and he's going to set the standard in that room as a defensive back. And all that stuff was true. I mean, he came in just fired up about football, fired up about learning, and quite frankly, fired up about finding his way on the field as soon as possible. And he has done everything the right way this spring or this summer as well. And even working with him in Indo, I have to give him his credit that he had come in as a really technically savvy cornerback. That plus his football IQ is just impressive. He's someone I can't wait to see in fall camp with the pads on, because the way he talks, I think he might be able to knock some heads off. So I'm excited to see him go.
Love to hear it. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it.
Tiger Talk TV is presented by Bet Online.